But what about the taxes?
We love the taxes.
Because they were high, weren't they? But it all functioned and worked. That was the point.
Yes. Well, that's very astute, Mislav.
Yes.
I don't know how you know that. What the hell? But anyway, look.
I'm telling you told me all this.
No, but I don't think that I've really impressed this point on enough, which is that, look, what the Byzantines gave us, what we inherited from them, I will never be able to give full credit to, basically because I'm too stupid. There is a book that I tried to read called Cambridge's Intellectual History of Byzantium. Okay. It was like trying to read a brief history of time. It was just way over my head.
Dude, say the title again.
Cambridge University's Intellectual History of Byzantium.
So glad I have you as a friend, because every other friend I have, the most intellectual thing that comes to their mind has been like, do you want to go to the AFL show today?
Oh!
It's so
scary thinking about that, isn't it?
It's just so awesome to hear that. It's just like, man, I'm just really glad that at nearly 34, I have a mate that's just like, yeah, I'm reading this book. It's just like, thank God. It needs to even out people just being like, did you see what people have been posting on Instagram? It's like, no, yes, but I don't want to see it. Like, so anyway, I'm very proud of you, but you didn't finish it, did you?
Cheers. No, I didn't. I couldn't. I couldn't finish it. I tried.
Understand.
I should just be at the footy with you guys. There's no hope.
Just chucking
If
the
anyone does, just give me a rundown of it. But what I can understand of it is that there was all these ideas that they kept in their mighty Constantinople walls going throughout that 1,000 years. That if we didn't have them now, we would not have basic academic principles that we use to stoke on, the Renaissance and all that kind of stuff. Now, you're always going to have all these dickheads out there saying that, it's very European central, because it's just a thing now in like intellectual circles to just shit on Western civilization.
What is that
it's
about?
this thing where they're like, every civilization had its contributions, and in the same sentence start saying like, but the Catholic Church used to burn books, and everyone from Western civilization is dumb and racist. Like, that's their thing. And then
a well-argued point.
Well-argued point.
Very well-balanced.
But the thing that they never point out is that, like, dude, Byzantium was just light years ahead of There was a reason that kings and caliphs used to go to the walls of Byzantium.
I'm just going to grab the thingy. Go on.
And they would fall to their knees, cry, would not understand how a society like this was functioning, and convert to Greek Orthodoxy. There was a reason for that, and it was just because it was just so much more advanced than anything in the world at that time. And I'm sick to death of people always saying, there was this. This is amazing. Like, it's always just like Western civilization, stupid, dumb, backwards rock apes, and then the Islamic Caliphate was this, always advertises this Islamic golden age, because they kept a few Roman ideas going after they took over the provinces.
Right.
They did not. They kept a few. The intellectual Byzantium history thing is just like, it's beyond your comprehension. You're too dumb to understand that. Now, the reason you think that the Islamic Caliphate was genius is because you do understand basic things like, aqueducts, I get that. Right. But this is nothing in comparison to what they kept going. On a shoestring budget. Like, it was a tiny block against this huge horde of Muslim invasion. Why do you think that they were able to do that? It was because they had the intellectual hardware to keep a system going in function that was able to repel this huge, massive onslaught of like most of the known world just hammering this very small... It's Turkey, dude. Like, the empire was pretty much just Turkey, the country, against like all of Africa, all of the Middle East, just hammering them all the time. And so they survived. And the more I was looking into it and I was looking for reasons for it, I honestly do think that the fact that they were highly religious did give them like this galvanizing effect. That was definitely a big part of it. So props to Constantine for changing it to this monolith religion. That was very well needed in the Middle Ages, I could assure you. But it was also the fact that they were able to keep Rome's tax system going. The barbarians and the Caliphate could not. The Caliphate had a tax system. It was nowhere near as comprehensive and complicated as this. And the reason that they were able to do that, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's just something that I've been thinking about so much now, which is like, dude, these are all ideas that we just take for granted now. Yeah? But just basic concepts. Like, you pay tax because you're educated, and you're educated because you pay tax.
Damn. That's actually like... That's like, it's so simply... putting it so simply, but it's kind of profound.
Isn't
That's actually
it?
a very profound
Isn't it profound? Because
point.
you just...
That's a very
You
profound
don't think
point.
about it, but this was a time when kings... And honestly, like at best, this is the difference. This is the way that it's being described to me. Kings at that time were essentially fucking bush rangers. No wonder they all dressed like Ned Kelly. You know, that was really most systems. Like that's what the barbarian system was, pretty much just smashing other fucking civilizations, grabbing the goats, and then that's how they had like not weird, just very simple tax systems, yeah? And it's the same with the Caliphate. The Caliphate obviously had a much more comprehensive tax system than that, nothing like Byzantium's. But at best, at that time, in Byzantium, there was the concept, the idea. It's so weird. You just take this for granted now. It's so simple. You can't imagine a society without it. You're a citizen. You are a citizen.
Hell yeah.
As in, you owe the state certain duties, and the state owes you certain duties in return. And that's what you're paying tax for. They understood. Dumb peasant farmers were so much more enlightened than even Australians now. We were talking about this last week where it's just like, this is Australia's concept of how society should run. I should get Medicare for free and I don't want to fucking pay anything for it. You know, like that's how we think now.
Yeah. No,
They
it's
did
true.
not.
It's true. I think that was a big part, and I don't want to get into all that again. We all know about the Venetians and everything. We've talked about it. At least we have in private. But like, I think that's a big problem with when you worship money. If you worship money, if money is your god, and you have no responsibility to your land and your heritage and your, let's say, your history, and there's no responsibility, there's nothing that you feel that you need to give. It's just take.
It's all take.
That's not a good way to be. That's like a new. That is. What you're saying is a more ancient concept, an older, more ingrained concept to like duty, responsibility,
but it's not even
land.
it's not even these high-minded ideas, because like knights and things did have that code of honor, but this is more just an idea of like, if you do not have a citizenry that understands that they need to have a state system running for their hospitals, for their orphanages, for their army, for the fort upkeep, all of that. Like they understood that this was collectively theirs, that they were all paying into that idea. This was an idea that virtually disappeared off the face of the earth after the collapse of the Roman Empire. Can you imagine a world where there wasn't that basic, like when you sit there and reluctantly explain this to Aussies, they're kind of like, yeah, I get it. But like, dude, most people back then thought that they were fucking centaurs. They were just like people on horsebacks, just shooting arrows and shit. Like this was the world that it was in. The best thing would have been something like the Caliphate, where it was this idea that like you're a subject paying tribute mostly. It was this idea. We're talking about the idea in these people's heads. Their idea of paying tax was sort of just like, I'm Islamic, I don't have to pay tax, put it on the Jews and the Christians, and this kind of idea. There was that. Yeah. But it was always like, look, in these societies, there was this concept that you were lucky if they built a hospital for you. That was just because of the greatness of the caliph or something.
Right,
you know? Or like if the king decided to build a church, it was because of in his honor. This was not the idea that they had for the emperor of Rome. You have to think of the emperor of Rome like the way that you see a school principal. This is a very advanced idea, very highly educated idea. That like, okay, he's appointed, maybe his children become emperor as well, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe like an immigrant becomes emperor. Maybe a beggar becomes emperor.
Yeah. Marcus Aurelius's son didn't become emperor, did he?
Commodus did, yeah.
Oh, so my bad.
But this is the general idea in these places was like, yeah, it could be, because like nepotism exists and people understood that, but it was not a monarchy. That position was not a monarchy. It was like, it was a principle. It was a public servant. They understood this. The population understood that the emperor was a public servant.
Yes.
This is not the case in the rest of the world.
No.
That did not exist. And the reason
So
that they
crazy.
had that is because they had the idea that they're citizens. So it was just the emperor was just another cell in the body politique that made up this place that they had. And isn't this amazing? Nerds, you're going to fucking cream yourself. I'm talking about the Byzantium now, but I'm also talking about this. Isn't this incredible? This is a Warhammer reference.
Oh,
There is
no.
a word. Isn't it
I
amazing?
thought we could get away from it.
You can't. It all leads back to that.
All roads.
You thought all roads lead back to Byzantium. They do, but then they go straight into 40K.
All roads lead to the Cronulla Warhammer shop. Fuck.
Thought you could get away.
Yes.
Yeah, just a reminder, everybody, he is an artist.
No.
But yeah, they had the idea, how is this? This was a concept that everyone understood. We know this because emperor after emperor had to pay homage to this in their speeches. This idea, it translates to, get ready, the greater good. It translates to the greater
It's
good.
just something that isn't even said anymore.
It's not even said.
What the hell?
It's not even said. That's incredible. Think about that.
No one says that. Like, if Biden was like, hey, it's a greater good, Jack, they'd be like, he's a communist.
Yeah. You're a communist
Jesus
for making
Christ.
sure that there is an apparatus functioning
Oh my God.
that supports society in the first place.
It's just, dude.
Like, there is a reason that it lasted for 1,000 years.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
There is a reason for that. And it is because, like,
proof is-
we're talking about, like, the intellectual hardware here. It's just like, look, the tax code that they had was complicated. It was efficient. Unbelievably efficient, even in the dying days of the Byzantine emperor, when it was just like empire, when it was just like this tiny little fucking patch of Greece. You know, it was still collecting more tax revenue than most kings in Europe.
Really?
Still to that day.
And they were happy to do it because, like you said, it was a commitment to the understanding of what the system meant and how it worked and that it functioned. It was like a safety net.
Which is because this is how we know that the population was at least somewhat happy with it and at least somewhat understood it. First of all, massive literacy rate in comparison to the rest of the world. I think
Really?
like 40% of the population was literate. In the Dark Ages. There's a reason it's called the Dark Ages.
Holy shit.
And then people always talk about what a wonder world the caliphate was at the time, because they're just like, oh my God, people were so much more literate than the backwards Europe.
Right.
10% literacy rate. Maybe 20%.
It's called
This
the
is what I'm talking
caliphate.
about. It's just like all they did was take over Persia, take over Roman provinces and be like, can you run it? But they didn't know how to fucking run it properly.
Yeah.
You know, there was like very intricate, well-established knowledge that had been running for 1,000 years before that they kept running for 1,000 years. There's a lot of positions in that. Like the level of bureaucracy in... This is what I love about Byzantium. All these cunts that are always talking about cutting red tape and stuff, it's just proven that, like, during a time when the entire world was ascending into utter madness,
Right.
this society kept functioning over and over. It was like walking into the Jetsons.
Flourishing,
when you walked
basically.
in. Flourishing even in its darkest moments. It was still
The
flourishing.
Jetsons. It probably was, though. They're like,
It was.
Is that a mule?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm freaking out. It's very, very hard to describe how advanced this place was, but you can in the literacy rates, you can in the life expectancy rates. It was just way better than living anywhere else.
31. Yeah. The ripe old age.
Of 31.
You reckon? It's just sort of like,
Yeah.
well, what would you need more years for?
Yeah. We're on Time magazine as 33-year-olds. How did they do it?
Is the
The
secret
world's
mules?
oldest man.
Well, I eat 2 mules a day. I knew I'd eat more mule.
She's better than us.
No, that is fascinating.
But
That
yeah,
is
like we know that the general population was somewhat happy with this order, first off, because they kept paying into it and they didn't dissemble it. Because the whole thing about a civic society, a civilization, can't have civilization without citizens, is
Hell yeah.
the population
That's a
has
good
to
point.
at least understand to some level there's a reason that you're paying tax. Yeah?
Yes.
But then the second thing is that we know is that there was not, this is incredible, there was not a single peasant revolt in the entire history of the East Roman Empire.
Wow. Holy shit.
there was a lot of texts from the time saying all these oppressive taxes that made it very hard for the peasants to live.
Right.
But that was just the rich upper class complaining that they had to pay fucking tax.
They had to pay tax.
Yeah,
Dude,
so they just were just like, look, what about the poor man on the land? The same shit that the Nationals say today. That poor man on the land.
Yeah.
Do they pay you at all? No, it's all Gina Reinhardt. Anyway, that poor man.
Yeah, totally.
That's what it is. Yeah?
It's just, I would love to see how often is the case when people are complaining about like you're locked into taxes, you're not free. How often it is just high earning people that have been lobbied by like, companies and stuff just to be like, we're paying you to say this. I don't see
100% of the time.
Yeah, I don't see poor people complaining about taxes. It's like, oh yeah, I'd be paying a lot more for hospitals and schools, etc., if this didn't exist. Because first of all, I don't have the money to budget. It's good that it's forcibly taken from me. It's like I don't have to budget. It takes the time out of it,
Yes.
And also I wouldn't be able to afford to budget because I'd just be like, hey, maybe I'll just gamble this. I'll double my money, Dude, it sounds it's so pathetic. It's just the same thing as like going to Europe. It's like, did you know that their fish and chips are the same as ours? But like, I fucking even just being in the fucking hospital for this, it's like, dude, I admire I haven't paid a cent, and I admire them so much. And the system it's amazing, dude. It's all free.
It's incredible.
Like
people really need to understand that point. A doctor, let alone all the other equipment, a doctor is an extremely expensive instrument.
Absolutely.
By itself. That.
Like they fucking, I don't know. First of all, on one level, I don't know how to do it. It's amazing. It's like, here's a gaping wound. I'll do this and not pass out, blood, all of a sudden. But then that's all incredible. I'm in awe of these people. It's just like, how the hell do you do it? I couldn't take stitches out. I couldn't do any of it. I literally wouldn't be able to die. So I think to me, they're like number one to me now. I'm like it's just like revere them the most on earth. But then on a practical level, expensive, very expensive. Like,
very expensive.
How much would this have cost me in America?
And the system of distributing it across the country. So even when you live in a fucking town that, let's be honest, should have died like a long time ago.
Tottenham.
There's still Tottenham.
Yeah.
Tottenham. Why the fuck is there a man that knows how to cure cancer in Tottenham? Why is he there?
And he's making me
on
pies.
my tax dollar.
No, but like, and the thing is too, the argument is like, I know people say, oh yeah, governments misspend money. There's blowouts, of course, but like, dude, so do like private companies.
But here's the alternative. This is what we learned from Byzantium. This whole fucking argument that the libertarians have of what a wonderful utopia the world would be without tax. We know what that society looks like. It's called Dark Ages Europe. Like, the tax system just broke down.
Actually, that's
what happened.
Proof. There's a proof.
That's your run. The unashamedly big government country that was Byzantium kept going, kept flourishing, was only undermined by very sneaky financial instruments invented by the Venetians. That is all that IMF like shit that you're happening now. Like, that's the thing that, look, think about it like this. I love thinking about it like this. The tax system of Byzantium, these were Middle Ages people. Like, yes, they were very advanced for their time. Unbelievably, space age advanced for their time. The Japan of their time, but they're still in the Middle Ages. And yet, with their tax code, with their unashamed big government, they were able to withstand climate change, plagues, numerous plagues.
That's mental. Plagues are a big one.
Invasions from every angle. I love thinking about it. It was Germany in World War I, but those pussies only lasted 5 years. They went for a millennium. A fucking millennium. And like attacked from every angle. God. Like just a large jihad for 300 years. You know how we just freak out now where they're like, oh my God, they got a journalist. Just imagine if that was basically the entire world just being like, just like running in just endlessly. For 3 centuries, we're like, fuck.
Oh, jeez.
You know,
that's insane.
That's what was happening.
Yeah, that's
and they
insane.
withstood all of it at the same time.
Was it really
because of the tax system, because they had that basic concept in their mind that they're a citizen. It was almost extinguished. It is the centerpiece to being in a civilization.
I mean, look, I think that there's probably I would say the direct correlation between like in terms of if you had to fork out however much money for a visit to your doctor or the hospital or something like that, no welfare, like no social net, the stress that would get on, that would take on your physical being would be infinitely higher than that, like once a month being like, god damn tax, man.
I know.
When shit hits the fan, you literally don't have to worry about it. I mean, like handing over a card, there's a reason why people do like zip pay, $10 a week, $15 a week. It's like, it feels, first of all, it is easier because it's like, it's not a fat chunk of money, but it feels easier as well. So like to be in a situation where you just have to pay something outright, I think that people would like give them heart attacks. They'll just be like, it's so much money. Whereas, I don't know, it's just the right. I mean, look, this is just a perfect example. This is so dumb. Thanks for paying for it, but like, you know, like it was kind of like, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing.
Amazing.
And that quality of like care. I mean, yeah, I was saying before, I felt so bad. I'm just like, can I have another endone? These like kids are dying in Gaza. Like they're just like, can I have my? It's like, have you found my leg? I'm just like, another endone, please. The stitch is hurting. We're very lucky. And like, dude, you're right. I think like people like, dude, look, let's be honest. I fall into that emotional argument a lot where it's just like, they're taking your money. It's all about, you do it for yourself. You don't need anyone to give you a handout. You don't need anyone taking your money. But it's like, it's so idealistic. It's like, yeah, maybe, but like, dude, what if like
it's so small?
It's selfish.
Picture.
It's selfish.
It's
selfish.
small picture.
It is small picture. It is
really
small
just,
picture.
like,
It is.
Dude, a massive reason that they kept going, I honestly think, is because there was that idea of the greater good. Like there was this idea that
No, exactly.
like everyone in that society had this concept. Obviously, there's always going to be selfish people. There's always going to be narcissists. Yes, that's true. But just the fact that there was a general concept of like, you are here for a bigger purpose. This is a big civilization project. We are protecting
That's awesome.
something very special here.
Yeah.
Something very special.
It's a project.
That could have easily been extinguished at any moment. There was many, many moments in Byzantium history where there was just the last civilized army on Earth staring down a horde of barbarians. And if one thing went the wrong way, that's the end of civilization as a project, really.
Dude, fuck. When you put it that way, it is actually huge. Like, that is insane. That they were just bastion of holding on. It's just this like...
But there was a reason that these men were inspired to fight in such desperate circumstances continually. Otherwise, you just fold. I mean, a lot of provinces did to the caliphate. They were just like, fuck it. It is doing a better system than what the barbarians had. Like Spain is a perfect example of that. That was not the case in Byzantium. They were protecting something.
Jesus.
And so, it's just look, all I'm saying, all of this is just like, now when I think about it, EU, give Greece a bailout.
Yeah.
They've earned it.
Yeah.
They've earned it. So much blood spilled.
They literally...
Just so you can sit there with your little bank glasses there while like Nigel Farage just yells, "Who are you? Who are..." You wouldn't have the fucking microphone. I know you've got a booming voice.
I know, you wouldn't have the mic. You wouldn't have planes. You wouldn't have any opportunity to actually... Yeah, dude.
It's really so something that is just like, I've been thinking about so much, which is like, Greece... Stop bragging about the fact that you invented democracy. That's like being proud of inventing the traffic jam. It's inefficient and shit. You should be proud of the fact that in its darkest fucking hour, you stood the line for not, humanity's darkest decade, not its darkest century, its darkest millennium. You held the line.
Why the fuck isn't this taught as like mandatory history in year 8?
It should be.
I'm
telling you, it is part of the conspiracy.
It's the Venetian
but
thing.
I'm not going to get
Venetian
into
thing.
that because you're going to have to pay for that and come see my live show. But this is just like a big part.
It is
of
insane.
I'm going to be repeating points in the show anyway. But I just really need to impress upon people these ideas. Like the world that you live in now, you cannot take for granted.
That's the thing.
This came from generations of sacrifice. And I think that, honestly, this is what I'm trying to do with my Jordan Shanks program now as a result of reading so much about Byzantine history. I really think that we need to get back to the basics, which is you are a citizen.
Yes.
You owe the state and the state owes you. That is a good system. It is a good system.
It's a good system. It's a good relationship. Like, what do we... I mean, I know it's just like a standard talking point, but like, if America's the alternative where it's just like crumbling infrastructure, crumbling institutions, desperation, poverty, lobbies, mass profits with a dwindling middle class, polarized, politics as a result of that, like inflammatory politics. Like, this is what we want?
Yeah.
No.
That's the goal, is it?
Like, misinformation is already going to fuck shit up enough. Like, that's going to be a problem to combat for sure. If we don't have that as the fundamental root, and like, dude, I was like a libertarian once because like I had the emotional argument of like, yeah, why should I do that? It's all, but the irony is like, no, dude, like if there's anyone that needs a social fucking safety net,
cripple.
It's the cripple who's like, dude, I'm not some like entrepreneurial fucking...
Yeah, free market doesn't benefit. But this is the whole crazy thing.
It doesn't
benefit the entrepreneur in the last... Like, you know what? It's really hard... You know who it's really hard to convince people to buy the ShamWow to? People that don't bathe.
Yeah.
You know, like it's hard to do all these stupid, dumb, gimmicky products if you don't have like a state that is propping people up where they're wealthy enough to buy your shit in the first place.
Exactly.
It's such a stupid, like, I've been thinking about it, like, the idea that they have of this shitty mantra, taxation is theft. Yeah, well, you know what is replaced? You know what they replace taxation with when you get rid of it? Theft. That's the world that you live in. You don't have rulers anymore. You have warlords. Just coming around, taking as they will.
Yeah. And also, companies aren't, charities. They're not going to... I don't think it happens. There's examples, but it's usually for PR or a way to make more money. But a company isn't going to come in and like build hospitals for anything other than PR or to make money. That's what they're interested in. So it's like it's going to be replaced by like potentially the world presented to you by Macca's, which is terrifying. That's at worst.
Yeah, and also, but isn't it presented by Macca's
enough? It's everywhere. But like, that's at worst. But at best, it's going to be like this sort of like lukewarm version of society of any semblance of like a safety blanket, where it's like the private sector will step in. It's like it'll be the most
with competitive rates
that they'll decide and set. It's like, and this, I fell off my fucking bike and hit my knee. That's not a big deal. But like, dude, cancer. My mum's partner's getting chemo right now for cancer, and like, thank fuck for that. It's helping. It's they have private healthcare as well, but it's like there are rebates that have helped a lot. Like people that go through really serious shit. Like, do you really want on top of that the stress of money? It's just like hard, And public education, dude. Like these things should be for some reason as well. And I blame the internet. But thank you for watching, not including this show, obviously. Shine up to the Patreon. It seems as if it's just like institutions that should be revered are not anymore. It's like if you're a teacher, it's like, oh, you're just a teacher. If you're a healthcare worker, it's like, oh, if you're a nurse, I suppose doctors still up there, but these aren't like revered in society. It's like, dude, getting educated, having a good teacher is life. It's kind of what life's all about. It's what it's all about.
Absolutely, especially if you come from a shit house.
Oh, 100%. Because if you have shit role models, you have shit parents or something like that.
What's your saving grace? What's your backup?
Your life is, you're fucked. You're fucked.
You're fucked.
Especially if you're an empathetic person that's an agreeable person. It's like, you need a human being. You're not going to just sit on YouTube and get your life will be fine, or even books. Most people, it won't happen. You need people that can actually influence you and teach you things. Intelligent people that can teach you things. That would just be gone. And like you can't underestimate the power of that. And like the fact that people just like, teachers, fuck them, nurses, fuck them. It's like, what are we revering in society? Like that cunt with a big forehead that was just like, people are lazy. That's why the economy's fucked.
And we do.
Why?
That's what we revere now.
It's insane.
But that's what I'm saying. You can tell that this is reflected in society in the Byzantine era, because what were the revered jobs in their society.
Tell me. Priests?
Priests, priests and soldiers, i.e. service to country or God. Now, God, you have to think about back then, they provided a lot of the social services. That was like the Department of Social Services back then. That was
true.
like the big Greek guy there would have just been called like Bill Shotianos. That would have been him. So the thing is, when you say God, you're actually just talking about running hospitals and orphanages.
Yeah, and exactly. And it's also, God represents, it's almost a metaphor for the state. It's a metaphor for a bigger picture.
Yeah, a bigger thing.
Yeah,
that's what you're there to serve.
So it is social services.
It was just like serving God or state. That's how they saw society. That is a successful society in my books. It's incredible.
It is. And I need to do more of that. I mean, like, I was thinking about giving blood the other day, but I had to, I pass out even when I get a small vial, so I probably won't do that.
Isn't it incredible that, like, even when the empire was diminishing, one of the emperors took a tour of Europe and he was begging them for help, and no one wanted to fucking help him. This is just the true travesty of history. But he was going around to all of these kings, and they were enamored by him.
Really?
Enamored.
Really?
Yeah. They thought that they were just like, yes, I get to flex on the emperor. And then they come in there and it's just like, holy shit. This guy knows how to read.
Oh my God.
You know?
Damn.
Isn't it incredible just to think about that? It was not uncommon for kings to be illiterate. Not in fucking Byzantium. That didn't happen.
Jesus Christ.